Hey guys, Tim here from SHQ. I'm here with Adrian and we're going to show you how to rig up a windsurf sail. What you'll need to rig up a windsurf sail is a sail, a mast, an extension and a boom. Okay? Now first thing you want to do is you want to look at the specs on your sail here. So for this Atlas 4.2 from Neil Pride, you'll need a 370 mast, you'll need to set your extension to 8 centimetres and you'll need to set your boom length to 157 centimetres. The luff length is just a combination of the mast length plus the base.
I have all my bits and pieces now already out of the car. We're down the beach. I've got my mast, my boom, my extension, and of course the sail. Now the first thing to take into account is where the wind's coming from. So I'm going to imagine that the wind is coming from the camera, and I will roll the sail out in the correct direction. We want to unwind the sail, unroll it in the direction of the wind so it doesn't blow back up in our face. You'll see people at the beach doing it the other way and they have their sail flapping around in the wind, which is not particularly good for it. Got this beautiful new Neil Pride Atlas, which is a general high wind sail and 4.2, nice and reinforced as well. The wind behind me, just start to roll it out. If it's a very windy day, I can just grab the top half of my mast and put that in first so the sail doesn't fly away.
You may need to just assist it and make sure you get it into there like that. And then it's always better if you've got a friend to sort of help you push it all the way up.
Now before I put the bottom half of the mast in, just ensure there's no sand left on the mast from your last sailing session, and particularly in the top piece here, because if there's sand inside it, you can get the two halves together, but then pulling them apart later will be very, very difficult. Slide that in. You'll find you've got a handle on the foot of the sail. That's to make your life easier to pull the sail down. As it gets a little stiff and a little hard to get the mast, rather than keep pulling, just walk towards the top. Thanks, Tim.
So when you're rigging a sail, the key thing is you want to try not to crinkle it as much as you can, because generally when you're rigging and de-rigging your sail, that's the time when you do the most damage to your sail. You know, so just be careful not to fold it or wrinkle it as much as you can. Sometimes it's a little bit unavoidable, but just try and minimise that, you know. So you want to get
one top tip as well. If you keep the battens, which are these rods I'm pointing to here, underneath the mast, and that way the mast goes up the sail more easily, and the sail also doesn't get caught by the wind and taken off.
So there's a little plug that's got a male part in it. That should be into the top of the mast there.
The next thing we have to do is set the mast extension. Now on the sail, if you'd like to come over here, we have some instructions. Now the length of the sail is called the luff, and it is telling us that the length of the sail, called the luff, is 378 centimetres long. We have the correct mast at 370 centimetres, which clearly isn't long enough, so we need to make that mast longer. How much do we make it longer by? 8 centimetres. So 8 plus 370 equals 378. So I grab my mast extension, and you'll see printed along its length are various extension lengths. I adjust the collar to 8 centimetres, and that will extend the length of the mast. And once I've done that, pop it inside the mast, again making sure there's no sand inside. Until it's in nice and properly.
Okay, so this is the Neil Pride MXT system. You'll find that different manufacturers have slightly different pulley setups. So I'll show you how this one works, but it may be a little bit different for some other setups. Okay, so what you first want to do is you want to fold this back to expose the pulley, yeah? And then basically you just want to rig the rope up so it's not crossing and creating any friction anywhere that it shouldn't. So you want to take the end of the rope like this. We're going to go underneath from the outside. pull it down. I like to just clamp it with my finger like that, just so it stays taut. And then through the cleat. See these little teeth here? That's called a cleat. That'll stop the rope from slipping back through. So once you've done that, you just give it a little bit of an initial tension. Okay, so there's a few different tools you can use. You can either use your harness spreader bar to tie the rope off, or we sell these small tools as well, just to help to get the rig tension on. There's also a product, a winch product used for bigger sails and stuff, to get some more downhaul on it. So if you just sit down, because you're going to need to put a bit of tension through this, you just tie this off however's easiest, you know, nice and close up to the thing there. Okay, now you have to put your foot on the bottom of the extension here to get enough purchase on it. And then you're just going to pull and then just wedge it into the cleat there.
And what we want to demonstrate is how the shape of the sail changes as the downhaul is applied. What Tim will do now is downhaul the sail and watch how the mast starts to bend and the battens at the top of the sail start to move away from the mast. And as Tim starts to downhaul the sail, we can see the leech, which is tight before we apply tension, start to loosen and become almost flappy and twisted. And when it's like this, the sail will feel light in the hands, be nice and quick and nice and manoeuvrable. That is what we're trying to achieve in the leech of the sail.
I just like to do it like this. A couple of those. And then you just stuff the rest of it away in the pocket here. We're ready to put on the boom. Okay. On the front of the boom head here, you'll find that there's a removable shim. You know, this is for 2 different diameters of mast. So if you look over here, this is what they call an RDM mast. You see that's a skinnier diameter. And this is what they call an SDM mast, which is a little bit thicker. So if you were to rig up on a mast that's SDM, you'll need to have the shim removed and it'll connect like that. If you're using an RDM mast, then you'll need to attach the shim so that it can clamp on correctly. Okay, now we need to set our boom length. So if you have a look on the sail specs here, it gives you a number for boom, which is 157 in this particular case. Yeah. So to set the right length for the boom, this boom is 140 long. So you're going to need to add another 17 centimeters to make it the right length. So you can see there's little numbers here. I'm going to set it on 18 just so I'm sure we've got enough length. And then you clip the clamp shut like that, and now the boom's set to the correct length. Okay, now you just got to make sure that your writing's up the right way, so you're putting the boom on the right way up. Then you're just going to move it through like this. Now you can clamp the boom to anywhere within this hole, you know, depending on how tall you are and how you like your sail set up.
To clamp the boom on, you'll see we have a piece of rope here that comes out of this cam, this handle. We loop that over the hook and then press down, and we should feel some resistance, and as we close the cam, it'll suddenly lock in. If you find that goes down too easily, then we haven't got enough clamp pressure, and what will happen is that our boom will slip down the mast as we go sailing. If we have too much and we're squeezing, it's an unnecessary amount of tension and compression on the mast, and it's not good for our mast. The way to adjust the amount of tension is with this rope within the cleat. We can make it a bit tighter or a bit looser just by adjusting through that point. I'll put a bit more tension on now. There we go. And it just clips in.
Now we're going to set our outhaul. So you see there's a nice little eyelet here. So you're going to take this loop of rope. You know, in this particular case, it'll go down through, and then there's a little hook on here. You You know, this setup might be different for different brands of boom and etc. So you're going to hook that on there, then you're going to pull the line with the cleat and tighten it off. If you put more boom tension on your boom, you know, it's going to make the sail flatter, which will be better for stronger winds. And if you want more power in your sail, you can loosen it off to bag it out and make the profile deeper so it has more power. So for a nice starting point, you just want to pull it in with a little bit of tension so that you can easily touch the boom with your hand with a little bit of pressure like that. You know, when you're sailing along and then there's power in the sail, you just want to make sure that you've got enough tension that the sail's sitting off the boom so it's not rubbing against the boom, and then you can sort of trim it from there. But that's probably a good place to start. All right, next thing you'll need to look at is your batten tension. You know, you'll only need to do this when you've just bought a new sail and maybe 6 months down the track as the sail settles in a bit. But if you can see these vertical lines through your sail, you just want to lengthen the batten slightly so it pulls nice and flat. So this is the Neopride system. You know, other manufacturers just use like an Allen key, but these guys, you just want to unwind this a little bit. So you don't want to over tension it, but just enough to take the wrinkles out. So as you see, as I clamp this down here like this, and the sail sort of flattens out nicely. That could use a tad more, maybe another couple of turns. And that gives you a nice flat profile in the sail. Okay, now we're going to de-rig the sail. So again, you want to be nice and careful not to wrinkle your sail up when you're de-rigging. So you always want to do it in the reverse way that you've rigged it up. So it's always, you take the outhaul off first. So you just want to pull the cleat out. Might take a little bit of force to get it unclipped. And then you can take the loop out there. Then we want to go back to the boom head. Take the clamp off, pull the cuff back through and remove the boom. It's probably a good idea if you've got a friend to hold the tip of the sail when we're removing the mast. So Adrian, can you jump up the end there? So I'm just going to remove the downhaul, so a bit of force to remove the rope from the cleat. You know, pull out all the rope. So we're ready to go. So then you want to take the mast out. So if you can just get someone to hold the end, it stops you from wrinkling up the head of the sail. Another little tip is you can stick a screwdriver in the ground, and there's a little eyelet up there that you can do that, so you've got something to pull against. So you just want to gently rotate the mast as you pull until the whole thing comes out, like so, and now you're ready to roll your sail up. Okay, then you want to roll the sail up. Adrian will demonstrate this now. You want to do it nice and firm, you know, so you can get it back in the bag when it's rolled up. But it should just line up with the battens as you go. And then once you get to the end, you see they have this handy little piece of elastic, so you can hook that over and stop it from unrolling. And then when you put it back in the sail bag, you always want to put it in clue first. And then you're ready to go home for a hot shower. Hopefully that was helpful, guys. So you should know the basics on how to rig a windsurf sail. If you have any more technical questions, probably best just to give us a call and we can talk you through it. Thanks, guys. Thanks, Adrian.
Thanks, Tim.